Yeah. Okay, welcome to another Off-the Radio Show broadcasting from somewhere in Santa Cruz, California. I'm going to introduce today's guest. She's been on the show 3 or 4 times. He's back today, and I'm very stoked that he's here. That is Dr. J. Nichols is my guest. TC's is not here today because he's running the boardroom, so he's absent. So I want to welcome Jay. I'm stoked you have out here on a secret location.
Yeah, secret location overlooking the secret ocean.
How are you doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
That is like
That's a big question.
big question these days.
I know, because you lost the house. Do you want to talk about the house first?
Sure, whatever.
So you lost the house in the fire, and obviously that was on. That's why I last saw you was on TV at KSPW, and that was just. I'm like, God darn it! That was just a sad moment for
Sure was.
you, your family, your friends,
Yeah,
people
and the
that knew you.
neighbors are a lot of, you know, for those who haven't been tracking the fires this summer, we're over 4.
You can speak up a little bit because there we go.
We're over 4 million acres.
In
Statewide.
right.
Here in Santa Cruz County, a very large percentage of the county burns. A quarter at least, maybe a third of the county,
Right.
the land in the county. And our home was one of the first
Right.
to go.
Right.
And we were just chatting before we got on here about the storm. Your secret location here is a front row on
Storm.
on the
Yeah.
ocean, but
Yeah.
on the storm that night
Yeah.
that came through at wee hours in the morning. And, 12,000 dry lightning strikes hit the land and started about 600 fires.
Right.
One of those, the one that took our home.
And your home was just on the north side Davenport.
Yeah, Swanton Road.
Yeah.
Just there's a little loop called Swanton Road that goes off of Highway 1, just kind of up a canyon there. And I was just working. I was doing some plaster work late at night and taping, the blue tape deal that you do, and
Right.
taping things up and getting ready to do some work in the morning. And just opened a bottle of wine, poured a glass, and was just doing, cranking some tunes and smoke outside. And neighbors had left, evacuated, and I thought, maybe I'll stay.
Did you know they'd gone? Your neighbors are gone.
They had stopped by and said they were leaving. And then the last neighbor up our canyon, Ian, came by and said they're pulling out, that I should follow. And I thought maybe I'll stay and pull out the hoses and pull out my fire helmet and try to
Tackle it yourself.
handle it.
Right.
And that was a good call to not do that in
Yeah.
my case. I know some others have done that successfully, but and then I left, grabbed the dog and just a couple of things,
Right.
and got out. And I think the house was probably gone within an hour or two.
Did you see the fire at that point?
I went up the canyon before I left, and
Yeah.
it was on both. I could see it on both sides of the canyon.
Right.
And it came, for those familiar with that part of Santa Cruz County, it came through Last Chance really quickly.
Yeah.
Took a lot of homes there, and then came around and down and up our canyon.
After the Paradise Fire, which last year, do you think that the fire had been addressed here in Santa Cruz County? Like, it was very likely to happen here.
Well, I think
some point?
what we're seeing all over the state,
Yeah.
and not just our state, but many states. And I have a brother who lives in Martha's Vineyard on the East Coast, and he's saying there, historically, forests burn. All forests burn. It's
Right.
part of the ecological cycles. Martha's Vineyard Island hasn't burned significantly in a very long time,
Right.
because it's managed. If it did, it would be a disaster. And
Right.
so I think that's part of the backstory. Of course, climate change is part of it, drought is part of it, but the way we have managed, and some people would say mismanaged, our forests, in creating this backlog for fuel, that when you have these weird storms like that one,
Yeah.
and by the way, what a stunningly beautiful storm that was.
Incredible. Yeah.
That's insane. I've never seen anything like it in
No.
California. It's like more like what you would expect in El Salvador along
Right.
the coast.
Right.
So you get something strange like that that starts 600 fires, you're going to overwhelm our firefighter system. You're going to ignite all that fuel, and you're going to have a hard time
Yeah.
starting it. And so I don't know. I'm not way outside my area of expertise, other than losing my home and being in college. I'm more focused on the ocean.
Had you prepared at all for a fire, or had you have you got a bag packed, or did you just grab stuff?
I was not prepared.
Yeah.
That fire. I didn't have much time. I mean, generally prepared. We had 2 tanks of water and 2 fire hydrants. We had all the boxes checked from CDF as far as being ready. But I didn't have. I grabbed a Bluetooth speaker, my daughter's Bluetooth speaker, saved it.
Right.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that. I got the dog. I got a little duffel bag. I got a half a gallon of oat milk in case I had to hide.
Who was at the house at the time?
It was just me
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
Dana, my wife, was with Grace. Had just left the day before.
Oh, right.
For the East Coast.
Right.
And she had just left for college.
Yeah.
And
And your other daughter?
Julia.
Yeah.
She was out.
Oh,
So
she was?
yeah.
Okay.
So she was able to go back and visit with me right after that. But I was glad Grace got out the night before, the day before, and left for college, because
Yeah.
she may have decided not to have gone to college.
How are the spirits of the family now, of the 2 girls and your wife? How is the spirit of the Wallace family?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I'll speak to I can't speak to Dana or the girls really. They're doing all right. I'm not doing all right.
Yeah.
I mean, daily, I have to say, I'm not going to fake it.
Oh.
You have good moments, mostly bad moments. It was already a tough year.
Yeah.
Just pandemic, economy, election cycle, a lot of divisiveness, protests, a lot going on, and then you lose everything in a fire, and it's just kind of
How did talk about your book for a second?
Yeah.
I want to know how you were able to use your own tools, not the tools you're trying to tell someone else to use,
Yeah.
but your own tools on
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And screw everyone else.
Yeah.
For the moment, right?
Well, I fortunately have a lot of people who are familiar with Blue Mind reminding me to take my own actions. Like, okay, dude, you just experienced the most red mind thing imaginable.
Right.
And you're in gray mind, which is burnout. If you stay in red mind too long, you will burn out.
Right.
I feel it. And so I've had people who have been helped by the concept of Blue Mind,
Yeah.
which people aren't familiar with. It's just that water will help you manage your emotional health. Whether you're sitting here looking at it and listening to it, or you're in it,
Right.
or you're in a bathtub, surfing, swimming, diving. So a lot of people have been doing that and have been reminding me to do it,
Yeah.
which is good. Because even if you wrote the book about it,
Yeah.
you still need to be reminded.
Right.
Or even if you live here,
Right.
you still need to be reminded to come out here and just be mindful of that
And the sound.
and the sound. And
Yeah.
I mean, you know it.
Yeah.
If you're having a rat race day and you just come out and listen for 1 minute,
Yeah.
or you make these sunrise, sunset videos
Yeah.
that people all over the world.
I know.
It improves their health,
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
And so, but you do need to be reminded. And so I've been trying to practice what I've preached for decades by getting out in the water and taking the dog out. And,
Those videos do go hand in hand with what you're doing. It's amazing how people like the landlocked or they're in Stockton. There's one lady's in Stockton in an attic. She's just, and then first day it was clear here. It was smoky for those 2 weeks. It was clear here. But the lady wrote to me. She's crying because she can now see the blue sky.
Yeah.
And the one lady wrote to me when I first started doing them was from Nottingham, England. She said to me, Neil, I was out in the wharf, at the end of the wharf on December morning. It was cold, and I could not barely hold my phone. I kept changing hands, and my hand was getting cold. And then one lady wrote this big long, not a book, big long comment on that. I'm like, what's that? So I went back and read it, and this lady said that her son was 13 years old, and he had autism. And he hadn't spoken one word since he was 6 until that morning when he saw the ocean and the sea lions barking.
Oh,
And
wow.
kids started talking again.
Wow.
I'm like, well, you know what, Neil, get your ass out of bed. Get your ass out of bed. If you think it's too cold, go down there and do a video, because you never know whose life is going to change.
Yeah.
And the water does change people's lives.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the science is clear.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. And throughout all human history, all cultures, all spiritual traditions have recognized what you just said, that the water heals people. It's in all sacred texts. It's now in scientific journals, and hopefully it will be in the hands of all teachers and all doctors and nurses in the very near future to practice this. And I think an important point, we've talked a lot about Blue Mind in different ways on your show, and what I realized during this pandemic is that this wild water, the ocean, the lakes, the rivers, of course, gives us this feeling. And domestic water, our bathtub and shower and swimming pool will do it as well.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly different, but still, if that's your water.
Yeah.
And then urban water, like fountains and the water that you have in your cities, in your great cities of the world, you have fountains that you can sit by and have lunch or coffee and listen to. But your point is virtual water. So you've got wild, domestic, urban. But the fourth category is virtual water. So the recordings that you make, the audio, the video, poetry, books, songs. Jack Johnson singing about the ocean transports you to the ocean.
What I've noticed a lot is I do a sunset video or a sunrise video of the sun, but what people comment on is the noise of the wave. Like, oh, I love the sound of the wave.
And you think about, you're delivering virtual ocean sound all over the world through this device that you have in your hand that you point in the right direction.
Crazy.
And you have the intention of just making it happen. Yeah. And if it helps one life that morning be 1% better, wow, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so I think the reminder is that I'm not saying that virtual water is a substitute for actual water. All the time, but temporarily it works and it helps. It's all of the above.
It's funny, I became hypocritical of like surfing at 38th Avenue. I was pissed with all the people, right? I'm thinking to myself, why are you pissed? Because, other people have the same feeling of being in water as I do. I know there's crowds there, and people are literally bitching and moaning about the crowds. They're at that point. It's easy because there's stairs, there's a camera, people know what's going on. But like, I shouldn't be complaining because everyone has a right to enjoy what I enjoy doing and enjoy being in the water. I think, I don't know. If the waves went away here or the ocean went away, Santa Cruz would be
different.
Right?
Well, I think, and the waves going away. Really the big message of Blue Mind for me as a marine biologist is the waves won't go away in terms of just the structure of the wave, but we can lose access if we have an oil spill. The waves go away. If the water will make you sick, the waves essentially go away. If somehow the whole coast of California became privatized, which unfortunately is not likely to happen, knock on wood, the waves go away. If you literally can't get to the sand because somebody has a gate locked, essentially the waves go away. So pollution, privatization, And then the third way the waves go away is your perception.
Right.
If you think you can't get out there for whatever reason, you can't get up early enough, you don't have the motivation, or some people are told, we're not water people, we don't know how to swim, it's not our culture, then you've essentially removed the waves.
To avoid your red burnout, your gray burnout, did you go and enjoy the ocean more?
Immediately.
Immediately,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, straight up. That's the first
Is that,
thing I
is that when you knew you had to go?
I knew I had to go, and then you know what, the former site of our home, which is now just horrible, pile of just junk, is a whole other conversation. But looking at your home, there's an intimacy, and then there's a whole horrific aspect at the same time. Like, wow, those are the strings of the piano. That's what those are. That doesn't look like the piano my kids grew up learning to play piano on. It's a mess, but it's also intimately familiar. So weird, at the same time. It's grotesque and familiar.
Yeah.
I went back.
That's got to be so difficult on your own mind.
It's exhausting. I mean, that's
I mean, I would just. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could drive up there. I've got some friends of mine lost their house. I found out where they were today. And they just not even going up there. They're afraid to go up there.
I understand that, and my gut said go and get your eyes on it. You take the kid, which Julia was me, and then we took some photos and videos to share with the rest of our family. Partly that was because I didn't even know where my keys were. In 20 years, I never locked the door.
Right.
And everybody I knew, or anybody they knew that. And that meant there's beer in the fridge, and you have a sleeping bag.
Right.
Come by and stay. Stay as long as you want.
Right.
The door is never locked. There's,
and you could do that on Swanton Road because
I mean, I'm not giving away any big secret anymore because the house burned down. So have at it if you want to go out there, but it's still not locked.
Right.
But that was how we lived, and as a result, literally thousands of people had spent the night camped out at our house, eating, drinking, listening to music, making music, reading. We did readings. We did all kinds of great stuff. The kids grew up that way, and so I felt a responsibility to go see what was there and then share that with all those people who felt like it was their home too. And so there was more, I think it just seemed like the house belonged to more than just our family.
Yeah.
And so I had to
An open door.
Yeah, very much. And I was raised that way, so we tried to do that as well.
Is the city of Santa Cruz, maybe we go in there, is the city of Santa Cruz the county, making it easier? Are you planning on rebuilding up there? Have you looked into what? Yeah,
so Ryan Coonerty has been great. The communication has been steady and solid about as the county figures it out. Because this is unprecedented, so it's a cleanup process now. So we're focused on the responsibility for our mess. I mean, I didn't make the mess, but it's my mess.
Right.
And the storm started the fire burned it down, and now my stuff is frankly a toxic mess.
Yeah.
It's my stuff.
Yeah. So
I'm responsible for making sure that that's taken care of. I don't know what we're going to do after that, but they've made it clear that the permitting process, which is everybody's nightmare in Santa Cruz County, they will be favorable to hopefully what people will build will make more sense in terms of sustainability, in terms of fireproof aspects.
Yeah.
I'm interested in just cleaning up my mess and replanting the meadow, and watching the redwoods do their thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty stunning what life does following fire.
Yeah.
So.
Do you plan on Blue Mine 2 or a follow-up book? What's in
Yeah, well, I'm working on it's a series of essays called Live Blue that I've been working on for a while that are basically how to do Blue Mind and how I've been doing it. So I think those will take a little bit of an interesting new direction, although to add some response to this situation.
Right.
The next book I'm working on is called Groove. And we haven't talked about this.
No,
I think,
no.
when it's done, I'll come back. But
Right.
I'll give you a little preview because I know you're going to have some insights. So you've heard of this concept of a flow state, which
Yeah.
is whether you're surfing or making music, or you're doing any kind of creative endeavor, or you're doing a radio show. When you're in flow,
Yeah.
you know it. You're
Right.
just everything's clicking. You're at your best.
Right.
You feel good. If you're Michael Jordan, you score 60 points.
Right.
But I watched Michael Jordan score 60 points in person when I grew up in Chicago. And he would score 50, 60 points and they'd lose. The
Yeah.
Bulls would lose.
Yeah.
So he was in flow. The team was not in what I call groove.
Yeah.
So groove is when you flow together.
Yeah.
Whether you're a band, if you're in a band, you know, if your lead guitarist is in flow and they're just having this out of their mind guitar solo,
Yeah.
but the drummer's off, the band is not going to groove,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I've experienced that here. I've experienced that here.
where you just know
Where I
it.
had four guys from four different bands, all friends, four different bands, and they got each one of them to come play right here where you're sitting.
Yeah.
And they, no rehearsal, they just, okay, we're going to do this in A, we're going to do this in C. They practiced maybe 15 seconds before, and they would play, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
We did 3 or 4 shows here, one in the boardroom. One of the boardroom was just exceptional. No practice, no
Yeah.
rehearsals, just made
And you, as a viewer, as a fan, you feel like
Yeah.
you're like your feet leave the ground.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
These guys just play together for the first time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So that's groove.
Yeah.
That's that feeling. Whether it's music, sports, you're in the water, if you're sailing together, if you're a family, if you're even just as a couple, as a family. I would even go so far as say as a community and as a nation. If you're grooving, things work better. Your chance for success, however you define success, goes way up. And so
Well,
the next book is about
You're
the
swimming
science.
downstream, you're not swimming upstream.
Yeah,
You're
right.
always
Everything's
flowing.
working, but it isn't. But a flow state is personal and individual, which is good. But what we need is groove. We don't need a bunch of different people flowing by themselves. We need us grooving together.
Right.
And I think the timing is right because everything that's going on. Like we're in a lot of ways, the pandemic has diminished us. In a lot of ways, the political season has divided us.
Yeah.
People have necessarily pulled back into kind of like a me perspective.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to come through this. The election will be passed. The vaccine or whatever solutions are in hand to COVID will be available. And we'll need to go out more and start working together more.
Right.
So we need to move back to the we. And so that's the science of groove is what I'm
Working on?
I'm working on. And I think it'll be as interesting as Blue Mind has been.
As a book, as a
book,
novel.
as
Yeah.
a book, and as a topic to, I've never thought seriously about doing my own podcast. I've always tried to take my ideas to other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to do that with
You should do
with
your own.
Groove. Yeah, I'll take your advice on
It's
that.
not- I mean, if I could do it.
Yeah, right.
I'm computer illiterate,
Yeah.
right? If I could do it, you got 2 kids, you know how to use a computer.
Yeah, right.
Let
Put
me
them
help
in
you
charge.
out.
Yeah,
Put
put
them
them
in
in
charge.
charge of the computer side.
But Santa Cruz is like a groove. Santa Cruz has a groove.
Totally.
You know, when I remember July 4th was an unbelievable swell, surfing, fantastic. Then for 2 months, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And the whole town's like, all of a sudden you feel the whole town going,
Yeah, yeah.
we need to get away from these
Yeah.
people are pretty bitter and moody.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden in that last week, I think it was, the wave swell came back and the
Yeah.
whole groove
Yeah.
of the town changed.
You can feel it.
You can feel it.
And it goes from the ocean and it ripples through that feeling of that groove, ripples through to standing on line for a coffee, to
Right.
drive, riding your bike across town, and people, it's just, the energy's up.
Yeah.
And that turns out there's a cool science of groove out there. And neuroscientists and psychologists who study interpersonal neurobiology, putting EEG caps not just on one brain but on two while we're talking, or while we're playing the drums together, or maybe on all four of us if we're in a band together, and looking at how your rhythm affects my rhythm, affects their rhythm, and how we get into something called entrainment, and it's verbal and it's nonverbal and it's micro emotions and it's it's just physical cues. If you see a band that's played together, well, maybe it's the first time, or maybe they've been playing together for 40 years, and they don't talk to each other. They just look at each other, and they nod, and they do these little things that are subtle but powerful, and that it's a an unspoken language, and that happens in your home as well. It happens in a classroom. It happens on the water. It happens on a sailboat with all kinds of teams, and I'm fascinated by that.
Watching people. Listening.
And when it's not grooving. If there's a group that's trying really hard to accomplish something, and they're not in a group, and they just fight it, and it doesn't work.
And we need, your concept of blue mind, it's needed now more. I know you, but I think after the fire, you're like, oh man, this pandemic's got me down. But you were, I think you were down in the dumps. Obviously, you were down in the dumps.
Yes.
Because I wrote to you going, I'm so sorry, man. I just missed enough. I guess you want to talk, right?
Yeah. My first thought when you wrote was gratitude, by the way. So I wasn't annoyed. And then my next thought was, maybe we should bring this setup out to out to the fire.
And do that.
And but then I thought, well, we don't have Wi-Fi or cell service out there, so that's
you don't need it. Oh yeah, you need electricity.
Yeah.
But it's needed now more than anything. More, I mean, I hope people go out and buy that book.
Yeah.
Because we need either or. If they have the book, read it again.
Yeah. Or I mean, we've tried to make Blue Mind available in as freely as possible. So we do an online book club every year, and I literally read the whole book every night on Facebook Live for 70 nights. We read together. It's kind of like your ocean videos. It's just a little ritual. Get on for half an hour, and it's like a bedtime story, and we just read our way through. So you don't even need to buy a book to enjoy the book. By the way, we have libraries and lending libraries. And pass by a little lending library, a little community, little kiosk down the road here. Every time I pass one of those, I stick a copy of Blue Mind in it.
Now, where can people get the book? Like, let people know.
Bookshop Santa Cruz, if you're local. I always give them a heavy shout out. They've always got copies. Of course, online. I'm a big fan of Powell's online bookstore. But of course, Amazon. And, there's an audiobook. There's an ebook and an iBook, and the German edition's coming out.
Oh, really?
The translation.
Yeah, perfect.
So we've got Korean.
Spanish?
Not yet Spanish. Okay. And I'm fluent in Spanish. I was wishing that would be the first one. Italian, Korean, Russian, Chinese.
Very
German
cool.
coming, Australian, New Zealandish, British, Canadian, all those.
Wonderful. So we were talking before we come on the show. Get two things in your life: music and water.
I
mean,
think
especially now with what's going on in today's world with the election, COVID. We forgot about terrorism. You and I talked about that. We forgot about that.
Yeah, nobody's really thinking about terrorism on a daily basis either.
But we need music. Make sure you get music and water.
Yeah, I think when we talk about Blue Mind, sometimes people think it's a luxury, it's a privilege, and it is those things. But I think it does need to be a daily part of your.
Why is it a privilege? It's basic.
Yeah, people think it's you're so lucky you live near the ocean. You're so lucky you have access to a swimming pool. But it turns out that if you want to be near the water, no matter where you are in the world, really, you can get it.
Yeah.
And it may not be this epic view from
Right.
the deck of the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
but you can enjoy water daily. There's a small group of people who will have a rough time doing it, but the
Yeah.
majority of humans can have a enjoyable water experience
Yeah.
daily. So it's a perceptual thing, and music as well. So if you can bring more water and more music into your life on a daily basis as part of your personal wellness routine, just do it, and it's going to help.
I'm gonna ask you a question from me, a personal question.
Yeah.
So I talked to Kat Breed, the gal that swam across from here to Monterey, and all those long distance swimmers. I think they have a screw loose. What's different about I just think they're just nuts.
Yeah.
I've interviewed them all. And I love them all to
Yeah.
death. And I
Yeah.
support their sport, which
Yeah.
is crazy. But I love the water as much as anybody. But I'm not going to go swim across the Monterey Bay.
Right.
What do you think is? What do you think is
What's wrong with them?
Well, yeah, pretty much. What's wrong with them?
I think all of the let's just say anybody with that much focus and devotion to one thing is a special kind of person. So whether it's Chris Burdish who supped across the Atlantic,
My dear friend.
or he's amazing, amazing
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. But by the way, I talked to him on the phone. Right before he left, and I said to myself, you know what? I got the phone with him on WhatsApp phone, whatever it's called. I go, that's the last time I'm going to talk to that guy. I go, that's the last. I go, Chris, that's the last time I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That was a heck of an effort. I mean, as is swimming across this bay, or walking across Antarctica, or sailing across the ocean solo, or people who have done epic.
Well, she's the gal that canoed from Santa Cruz to Hawaii.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think, but from a neurochemical perspective, if your dopamine, like you get your dopamine hit,
Right.
you get that pleasure button pressed by swimming long distances, or doing a podcast,
Right.
or just having a regular morning surf, or making music, or solving math problems for a living. So I used to be on the math team in high school,
Yeah.
and so people would ask this similar question.
Right, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, like they want to get out of math class,
Right.
not go back for math team practice in
Right.
the evening, and not spend their weekends at
Right.
math meetings.
Right.
They're like, hell no, what's wrong with you? And so, same answer is, there's something about solving a math problem and the dopamine hit that you got that made you want more. And if that was how you got your dopamine, then you're going to become an addict to math. You're going to become an addict to long distance swimming, to stand-up paddleboarding, to surfing waves, to making music. The good thing is that those are generally healthy pursuits. Granted, there's a risk involved in swimming across the Monterey Bay.
Yeah.
You need to mitigate the risk by having a good team, having good contingency plans, and having first aid available. Same thing if you're paddling across the Atlantic or Pacific. There's not a lot of risk for mathletes.
No.
Very little. You get the problem wrong and
Right.
you're sad, but there's not a lot of.
No.
You don't need a trainer.
Piece
You
of
don't
paper
need
and pencil.
Yeah, not a lot of sprains at
Right.
wrists from doing math,
Yeah.
math problems.
Broken bones.
Yeah, no. But that's really it. It's whatever lights you up. And I try, when I talk to young people, I talk to my own kids. What a gift to find something that really gets
Yeah.
you out of bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
just to go for it, and keeps you up working all night just because you love it. I think to find that passion and a purpose in life, and to be
Right.
stimulated and actually be addicted to that thing
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
It's harnessing. At our first Blue Mind Summit 10 years ago in San Francisco, Mike Merzenich is an emeritus UCSF neuroscientist, amazing scientist. He gave the closing keynote and he said something along the lines of, if we can harness our addictive tendencies involves dopamine, as a force for good, we can change the world. And we're all, we're all prone to habits, bad habits, addictions. If we can harness that as a force for good, and we see that in our community, we see surf therapy being used to help people, get their life back on track. And there's something about the water that is...
It's a mental laxative.
And it's very addictive.
Right.
I mean, you need, the people who listen to your recordings, they need it. It's medicine. They miss it. They long for it.
They yearn for it.
And then they get a little bit of it, and it feels really good. It feels like, a glass of your favorite wine, And so, that's really what Blue Mind is about. It's about saying all of what we're talking about and making it more available to people, putting it in the hands of doctors and nurses and therapists and teachers.
You're the first person that put Blue Mind in a book. I mean, Blue Mind's been around for probably
millennia,
right? For a long, long time. It's just never written about.
So, if you look in every sacred text, thousands of years old, so I'll pick one that people might be familiar with, the Old Testament, the 23rd Psalm, which I'll paraphrase, it says, when the shit's hitting the fan, get your ass down to the water, saith the Lord, right? 3,000 years ago, King James wrote that. That's 23rd Psalm is the one that begins with, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that's the fear no evil. Valley of the shadow of death, bad day.
Bad day.
That's a bad day. That's a shitstorm of a day. That's a firestorm. That's just hell. What is the prescription, according to King David? Go to the water. Sit down, soothe your soul. There it is, 3,000 years ago. My book is just adding neuropsychology to that concept. And you find that idea in every sacred text. It's that water is good for emotional well-being. And when I wanted to read my book, I didn't want to write it. So I tried to find it so I could read it. And I couldn't find it. I tried to find it out of print, other languages.
Nothing.
Tried to get some other people to write it. Failed. Pitched it to a guy named Oliver Sacks. He was the late great Oliver Sacks, a neurologist and a writer, and a water guy, an ocean guy, swimmer. And I said, Dr. Sacks, I have a really good idea for your next book. I will work my butt off in service of you writing it. I'll give you my files.
He told you to get on with it.
He said, "That's it. He's a fine idea.
Right.
You do it."
You get on with it.
So 5 years later, I brought a copy of the book finished
to him
in New York. It took 5 years from when he said, "You do it," to that moment. And then soon after that, he passed away. So it's his fault, basically. But I really wanted to read the book, and I really wanted him to write it. And when he said...
What, did he read it?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, I think he liked it.
He did.
I think he liked it, he said that he got his best idea. The man was... If you don't know Oliver Sacks, look him up and just listen to anything he's ever said or written. Read anything he's ever written. Brilliant guy. He wrote a great book about dying as well, called Gratitude. One of his last. He used to say that he got his best ideas while swimming, and that he always kept a legal pad or something to write on at the edge of the lake, on the beach, or at the edge of the pool. He got his best ideas, and he wanted to be able to hop out and jot them down. And the guy was an idea factory. He had a billion ideas his whole life. And to say that he got his best ideas, his bursts of creativity while in the water. And if, I imagine everybody listening is a water person to a certain degree. You know what that's like. You're out on the water and you get the new lyric for the song that you've been working on, or a line of poetry, or an insight for business.
That reminds me of the story I wrote about this lady. Her name was Robin Rasmussen Rose. Robin Rasmussen Rose did that. One of the crazy long-distance swimmers. She was swimming from Catalina to LA, which is like 24 miles. It's a gnarly swim. And she was, so I said to her, I said, hey, what do you, I always want to know what the hell do you think about for, you're in the water 12 hours, 20 hours, whatever it is. What the hell do you think about? And she goes, well, for me, she goes, I'm kind of I'm an engineer by trade, and I have everything in the filing cabinet, my house, my vacations, my work. I got all my music, it's all in a filing cabinet in my head. But before I step in the water, it's ready to go. So as soon as I step in the water, I unlock the filing cabinet. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And she goes, that swim. She goes, Neil, that swim. As soon as I stepped in the water, that filing cabinet did not kick in. So what'd you do? She goes, I started swimming, and everyone was encouraging me, the people on the boat, the pack, come on. And she goes, I wanted to give up. The story was that she was about 2 hours into the swim, she's about to give up, and she looked down what she thought was the beach, and she stood on something. And when she stood on it, it moved. And it was a pilot whale. Right? The pilot whales have fins, like sharks. Right? So the pilot whale swam around. There's a boat with a kayak in front and a kayak in the back. That's how they run it. And the pilot whale came around, and the guy in the back kayak shouted, "Shark!" Because this thing was like beside the kayak, submerging, and he saw the fin. Well, the shark ended up pushing her with his nose, shoving her. She goes, Neil, it was like being shot out of a torpedo in a submarine. And that whale knew that lady was in trouble. And she goes, after that whale pushed me like that torpedo out of the thing, my mind clicked in and that filing cabinet unlocked. Wow. And I was able to continue to swim to LA. She told me, and I started crying. I remember there was a coffee shop over here. I'm crying my eyes out. I wrote it, and it was like truly amazing.
Totally amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of
that
why you do it.
Yeah.
Like how you do it, but then why you do it, and you're never gonna have an experience like that sitting on your couch. It's impossible. There are no whales hanging out in the living room, or sharks, and so it's if your life is driven forward by those experiences of awe and wonder, and you desire them and you crave them, then that's why you get in the water and you start swimming. And there's the physical athletic accomplishment, but then there's the magic. I mean, you can swim a lot of laps, and you're not going to in a pool, and have a really good workout and win medals even, but you're never going to get shot out of a cannon by a whale.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like me, I think if you're like me, as soon as I stick my little toe in the water, I'm good. I won't sit on the beach. I cannot sit on the beach. I cross the beach, so my little toe can get in the water. As soon as my little toe is in the water, it's like, I'm good. I can turn around and go back to my car and go home. Yeah. I'm good.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And I think that's, I guess our mission would be that everybody understands that, what you just said. What if 8 billion people understood that feeling and knew, as they were having a red mind day and moving into gray mind, that they could
stick their toe in the water,
stick their head under the waterfall, or wherever they are, or just go sit by the fountain in their city. There's a question about crowds and access, but that would be a great problem to have, to be able to say, okay, we've got a problem, we need more clean rivers. Let's fight for those. Let's clean up the ones that need it. We need to build more public pools. We need more public blue space. We need more public fountains for people to hang out. Wouldn't that be great if we had leaders that were
more surf pools, like the one one in Waco and the one in.
I surfed in Austin at the opening of that one.
Did you?
Flew in, went straight from the airport. In fact, there's less debate about it. And I just remember having some conversations and saying, you just don't compare it to this.
No.
Because you can't.
No.
There's no. That would be really stupid.
No, you can't.
do not compare, you know, an artificial wave to the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
It's not fair. It's
No.
not fair to either of them. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
And make sure it's clean and safe and healthy and accessible.
Yeah.
And same with the Pacific, but they're different things.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That debate kind of faded quickly. I think people aren't really concerned about, is it the same?
Yeah.
It's clearly not. Yeah.
So I want to wish you luck with whatever you can do with the house. I wish you nothing
Thank
but
you.
the best.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole town wishes you nothing but the best. And
Thank you.
I saw that. I'm like, this is that.
Well, hopefully I was able. I mentioned that Grace went off to college
Yeah.
the day before, and I had to let her know the status of her home, and I couldn't even speak. Actually.
Right, no,
So
no.
I wrote a letter. And,
To her?
To her.
Yeah.
And apparently the letter resonated with her, but resonated with a lot of people, and sort of made its way around. I think what I tried to do is just put some words to the grief,
Yeah.
and I think we're all feeling different levels of grief related to the future, due to the pandemic, due to the fires, due to all of the changes here on Earth, in our communities, and so that sense of loss of a future,
Right.
we're all grieving, whether we know it or not. And so I tried to put some words to that, and maybe it's been helpful, but I think back to the water is the best place. So it turns out the best place to process your grief is the water.
Yeah.
The shower, the bath, the ocean,
Anything.
any kind of water. Just
Anything you can.
Yeah.
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 Thanks, Jay, for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you again.
I
For
appreciate it. It's
inviting
always
me.
good to see you, you
it's
know.
good to see you.
But you know, what's the circumstances are better.
Yeah. Under any circumstances, it's good to talk to you.
Right? Thank
Yeah.
you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it. And if you want to catch a show, it's on. Catch a show later on if you missed it or missed any of it. It's on Amazon Music, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. It's everywhere. Everywhere you can get a podcast. The show's on offsetvideo.com. Tune in Saturday. I have Jake Nielsen and Triple Threat playing in Pleasure Point. Next Tuesday, the reggae band Soulwise playing at the Boardroom. It's Tuesday night at 6:30. So more music to come. I know you guys are liking the music, and so plenty lined up for you. So thanks for watching. Jay, thanks for coming to the show again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
Take care
bud.
of each other.
Yeah, we'll take care of each other. Good job, bud. Oh.